Hello, everyone. My name is Hazel Wilford. I am the registrar of the Guyana Institute of Historical Research. This program has been sponsored by the Institute, and this is the final presentation of the Guyana Institute of Historical Research Emancipation series. In this final program, we shall look at playwrights who certainly were influenced by the Emancipation Crusade and by the history of slavery. Emancipation of the slaves occurred 183 years ago on the 1st of August. Welcome to this presentation. As the movement for emancipation of the slaves began, African Guyanese slaves were involved in the actual emancipation of themselves. They did so through many ways, resistance and revolt, and the resistance took many forms. In the post-emancipation period, there were playwrights and dramatists who have attempted to illustrate the brutality of slavery, which led to the full emancipation of African Guyanese on the 1st of August. These playwrights can include Moser Telford, Ruel Johnson, and of course, the popular ones of the early 20th century, such as Norman Cameron, Sam Chase, Bill Rogers, Francis Faria, Kwesi Odinga, Paloma Mohammed, Harold Bascom, and Ken Dance. Paloma Mohammed, Harold Bascom, Ken Dance, Moser Telford, Will Johnson are in the second half of the 20th century. Like the novelists and poets, the playwrights have written in response to the existing social conditions of the historical period in which they lived. In his examination of playwrights of the early period, Francis Kwamna Faria stated in his article, The African Substance of Theatre in Guyana, that many African Guyanese playwrights wrote in response to international African events, such as the Pan-African movement of Marcus Garvey and Haile Selassie of Ethiopia during World War I. One, of course, cannot ignore the role of Raslion Saul, who has mounted plays at the National Cultural Center. One of his most popular plays was the reenactment of the Purchase of Victoria. This play was recorded on DVDs and can be purchased from the playwright. In the modern period of Guyanese theater, particularly during the 1970s, African Guyanese wrote plays which had political themes. These included plays about the cleanup campaign, Grow More Food campaign, and the banning of foreign foods. Faria observed that there were numerous plays in which a character in a place or skit would say the line, the comrade leader said. However, in this presentation, I shall concentrate on one playwright. His name was Professor Norman Cameron. He was Professor Norman Cameron. Professor Cameron was a scholar and a creative writer. He was actively involved in the formation of such organizations as the Union of Cultural Clubs and the British Guiana Literary Society. Several of Norman Cameron's plays were based on personalities and events in African history, but he adapted them for the Guyanese environment. These include Adonia, which was published in 1943, Sabako, 1947, Abimelech, 1952, Balthazar, 1931, and Kaiser or Hear the Other Side, 1959. The play Kaiser or Hear the Other Side is based on an incident which occurred in the 14th century Sudan and was narrated in Cameron's work Evolution of the Negro, Volume 1, 1929. He reprinted the story of a world traveler who had visited the Sudan from 1352 to 1353. This play was written in observance of Cameron's 30th year as an author and playwright. He directed the play in 1959. The music in the play included the Coromantee songs from Hans Sloane's Historic Jamaica and an adaptation from Mungo Park's Travels in Sudan. The instruments which she had intended to use were the flute, xylophone, banjo, and drums, with horn and trumpet, which were all indigenous instruments. The theme of class is discussed in the play. Cameron differentiates the classes by their speech pattern. The king of Mali became angry with Kaiser, his queen and chief wife. She is an associate in the government. He replaced her with his other wife, Benzo, who was not royalty, but the public and commandants disapproved of the king's action. The Sultan, acting on behalf of the king, summoned the commandants to the place of audience. One of Kaiser's slaves was told to disclose what he knew about the queen's crime. He informed the commandants that Kaiser had sent her to Jatal, a cousin of the Sultan who had fled to Cabernet. He also claimed that the queen had contracted him to rob the sovereign of his kingdom, assuring him that, and I quote, "I and all the soldiers are entirely devoted to you." When the commandants heard this account, they exclaimed, "That is an enormous crime, and for this deed, Kaiser deserves to die." And that brings us to the end of our presentation of the Guyana Institute of Historical Research Emancipation series. I wish to acknowledge the contribution of Ms. Jenny Daly of the African Guyanese Museum, which is located at Brina Avenue, Bel Air Park, as well as the image that you are seeing here, Forts and Monuments, is from the Ministry of Education video, which was published in 2021. If you are interested in further information on the history of Guyana, you can now contact the Guyana Institute of Historical Research or one of its Facebook pages. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of this series during 2021. Enjoy the rest of the emancipation period.